Hi, I'm going to show you how to build the TAMCO police motorcycle. It's a ride-on toy. It's electric. It has a foot pedal to help it go forward, and there's a switch to turn whether it's going forwards or backwards. There's a front light with 7 different colors that blinks alongside music, and there's a button to turn on 3 different pieces of music, and then another button to honk a horn. It's a really fun toy. However, the instructions I found to be a little bit unclear, so I'm going to walk you through how I assembled mine. The first step is to attach the red wire to the open red plug on the battery. The instructions suggest charging it for 6 to 10 hours before using it the first time. So you plug that into the electrical socket there before you use it the first time. The next step is to attach the windshield into the fairing. Now, there are a lot of screws that come with it. If they don't work for you, I suggest just using household screws. But in this case, there's 2 long, thin screws that attach the windshield on the right and the left to the fairing. The next step is to attach the front forks to the fairing through 4 screws. You see there, 1, 2, 3, 4. To get another view, you're lining up the 4 holes on the black part of the forks to those 4 white posts underneath. And here's a close-up shot, and you can see those screws going through there. Watch out for the wires. Don't get them tangled up with what you're screwing together. Okay, so when you're finished, there'll be some wires that you're going to cover that with the dashboard a little bit later. And that's where the hex bolt is going to attach the front forks to the frame. So first we're going to slide on the fender, make sure it's pointing forward. And you're going to attach both sides of the fender white piece of plastic onto the black metal forks. There's screws on each side. Now we're going to put the coverings on the wheels. There's 3 slots that will just click together, and you do that on both sides. And we're going to be putting the black axle, which has threads on both ends, through the front wheel and through the forks. I found that it was easiest to assemble it in this way. Make sure that you put that washer between the fork and the wheel, and the same thing on the other side. So you run that post through both of those holes that are already drilled on there. There are some white plastic wrenches you can use, or you can use your own pliers or socket set, and you make sure you do that on both sides. Now, I should note that you might want to wait and put the wheel on later. You don't have to do that at this part, it's up to you. But there's a final shot, and there's the dashboard inserted on top of the handlebars. That will be held with this bolt. Note the spacer on that bolt. It's going to be between the casing there and the front of the frame. You need to connect that wiring there first. You can see where that comes from the bracket and the fairing all the way through to the front of the frame. We're going to put that through, and the easiest way is get that partially started, put the front forks on, and then push the bolt through. So you can see how from the top, that's where that hex top of that bolt's going to be secured. And then looking at it from the other side, upside down, you see that's where that goes. Now this doesn't show a washer that should be on there. I just wanted to make sure I got that shot, and that's one of those locking nuts that come with the set. Now for the case on the back of the bike, insert that red flashing light. Make sure that the holes line up, because you're going to need to put 2 screws through them on each side there, right and left, to secure that red light. Make sure that you insert that light all the way so it's nice and firm. The wiring that comes from that's going to need to go through the hole in the bottom of the case. So the light's on the top of the case. Here's that wire being run through, and there's the black bracket that it's going to attach to it. You line up those 4 slots with those 4 holes. on the case. So there's what it looks like when it's attached. Make sure that alignment is right with the curves so that it'll attach properly to the bike. I ran the wire through where the 2 holes are for the bracket and attached those with a click, and you can see those black brackets underneath the bike. Here's from the outside of the bike, just a little bit over from the right, this next shot, and you can see that wire and how the black bracket gets inserted into the frame. You secure those with 2 screws. Now the seat clicks in on the front, and then there's a hole in the back. You want to make sure that you put that screw in to protect the battery from any water. Make sure that in the future that the tricycle doesn't have any water on it or leave it out in the rain that could damage the battery. So that's the assembly. Make sure that everything's secure before your child rides on it. Now, we found this to be a really fun electric tricycle. There's 3 pieces of music that you can switch to by pushing the yellow button, and you can also honk, which switches off the music if you want to do that too. Make sure that your child holds on to the handlebars when they ride and attend them as they learn how to ride it. It doesn't go too fast for even young children, and they'll find it pretty easy to steer once you show them and they figure out, oh, this is how it works. So our kids are having a lot of fun with it. I hope that yours do too. Assembly this can be a little bit of a project, so use your tools or household screws if you need. Just make sure that you put it together securely, and you'll have lots of years of fun use out of this delightful little electric tricycle. It was a fun project for me, and I hope it is for you too.